Yo, how's it going everybody? You got Sketch here and welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're checking out a shoot 'em up for the Switch that I saw come up a lot on my timeline, and with comparisons to cave shooters getting associated with it, I had to look into this one. We're looking at Roll & Gunner, developed and published by Mebius, releasing to Windows in 2018 and ported to the Switch in 2019. The overpowered DLC were released in January 2021, though for now we're looking at the base Switch version. Let's hop on the ship and get our mission briefing. Humanity has become reliant on the Bastard System All-Controller, also known as the BAC, to the point where they're mostly incapable of operating machinery or even weapons. While a small group saw trouble on the horizon, the reaction was too late. Once the attacks began, it cut the population in half. 3 ships, codenamed the RF-42RX Stork, led by an anti-BAC arms development team, would create a weapon called the Roll & Gun and attach it to its onboard ballistic system. On March 18, 2061, they're deployed to destroy the BAC before it can do any more damage. Let Operation Downfall commence. Gameplay-wise, you've got a 2.5D horizontal shoot 'em up that will take you through 6 to 7 stages of veritable bullet hell. You'll blast everything in sight and try not to get shot down yourself as you maneuver through the gauntlet of gunfire. You get the option of 3 crafts, each with their own flight speeds and bullet spread, and each craft is equipped with a screen clearing bomb that at times can work as an extra hit point. Catch is, above the novice mode, 1 hit takes away all bomb stocks and the next hit is a down. Your rolling gun can swing around on all 8 axis and lock on by holding the Y button and let you fire forward with your main cannon simultaneously. This has a feel of Glailancer and Pro Gear as far as the weapon systems are concerned. There's also a brake system that will supercharge your weapons once you pick up 1,000 medals, and once you hit a second charge, you can double break for even more damage and drops of bigger medals. Your ship will illuminate gold for the first break and red for the double break and is tied to the same button as the bomb. Another catch here is if you get hit in the break, it will revert to a screen clear and reset your meter to 0. Get hit with no bomb stocks in a break and you'll still be vulnerable and shot down. Bonuses can be achieved by not getting hit, combo chaining to feed your meter, and picking up as many medals as you can on screen. The magnet has increasing polarity depending on what level of the break cycle you're in, if you're out of the break or in the first or second break at which your magnet will be at its strongest. You can use continues here, but at the cost of your score, which also resets to 0 and takes away your chance of unlocking the final encounter. Roll & Gunner gives you some pretty strong equipment heading into battle, but know the BAC infantry has got everything under the sun to bake your biscuits, quickly at that. The enemies will be coming from every direction and the screen gets hectic even early in the game. Getting comfortable with the rotating arms and locking your shots to clear paths will be paramount to survival here. Bullet hurting and dodging will be equally important to keep you in the air. Enemies and bosses will throw a slew of lasers and bullets your way and gradually get more intense as you move along. There's on-screen indicators as to where enemies will come from, so it gives you a little bit of time to orient your fire preemptively. Mid and main bosses will also have health bars and damage phases which will switch up their attack pattern. This feels similar to cave boss encounters, so be on your guard. Encounters get real buck towards the end. If you could run this on expert, that's quite the achievement. The difficulty is up there, but with novice and casual modes, you can ease yourself into the madness, though the challenge remains staunch however you slice it. As mentioned earlier, if you can make it through all 6 stages without using a continue, you'll enter the final encounter and get the game's best ending and highest clear bonus. Graphics wise, Roll & Gunner runs this animation with the OpPix Sprite Studio and uses the Buster engine, which looks sick. From the opening cutscene to the gameplay, it straight up cooks off the muscle. There's also a lot of really cool character models here, from the bosses to the ads, and you'll see a few similar enemy types across each stage, but there will be a few unique enemies and hazards rolled in with them, so the variety is there with the ops. Boss designs are all mechanical behemoths that will have an array of attacks to throw at you, and the character designs are also pretty dope here, even if they aren't anything too out of the ordinary. You do get some well-designed enemies and encounters that will flood the screen with projectiles, leaving it up to you to shoot your way out. Environments also look pretty good here with the animation style, and while there's not too much parallax scrolling, you'll see some pretty well-detailed areas with a few moving parts and layers of animation and environmental scrolling like clouds and photorealistic backgrounds, from the Earth to the reaches of space. It doesn't get too crazy with the environmental hazards per se, but there are some things lurking in the background that can smoke you if you're not careful. The cutscenes between each stage look fire though, with some really sick animation detail in the next phase of the mission, and at times the final strike on bosses, which looks awesome cinematically. Depending on if you can complete the game with 1 credit, will unlock a different ending as well as additional encounter. The cave influence makes a lot of sense here, considering Daisuke Koizumi worked as a planner and designer for Project Roll & Gunner, who has a healthy pedigree of cave shooters under the belt, the likes of Death Smiles 2, parts of the Dodonpachi series, as well as Akai Katana. This is a title that has the cave DNA running throughout the experience, even if it doesn't bear the cave brand necessarily. Sound-wise, Roll & Gunner is solid with driving tunes and some slapping sound effects work. The soundtrack of this game is killer with some high energy level tunes that also feel reminiscent to cave shooter soundtracks. From the opening scene to the final battles, the soundtrack rips, with several contributors being Hideaki Kuroda, Keiichi Yonao, and Kosiyo all have roles with the sound work here. The in-game audio is also nice and crispy here, with some excellent sound work from the shot audio to each screen shaking explosion. There's some crunchy sound bites throughout the run, and each has varying levels of boom, from small enemies to the massive bosses which fall with a seismic wallop. Along with the visual indications, the sound will clue you in as to what enemies are coming into the frame next, so having a keen ear will set you up for replies in advance before the screen gets hectic. Rolling Gunner has a very well balanced audio composition across the board, and the sound definitely fits the action. The tunes remind me of Chaosville with the energy, since both feature mainly electronic music, so you'll be jamming while you shoot through the game's runtime. It's also pretty satisfying when the audio and music hit on those moments where you're either crushing it or getting crushed by it, and it makes for some really dope soundscapes overall. Rolling Gunner is a solid shoot 'em up that's got a lot of replay value. The challenge is up there, and if you're going for 1cc and high score runs, it will come with some practice since this one can be relentless at times. The various difficulty settings can ease you into the game, but it's still challenging even on easy. Once you figure out your abilities, you'll be cruising, but be prepared for a battle that'll keep you on your toes while having a great time in the process. Rolling Gunner gets an 8.5 out of 10 and comes highly recommended for shoot 'em up fans. If you're a fan of cave games, this also has some of their team involved, so it's certainly worth a look. The breakneck pacing along with the fun gameplay loop will keep you coming back learning more each run. Going for those high scores and high difficulty runs is also a fun challenge, along with trying out the other crafts to feel out which one works best with your playstyle. There are physical versions available for the Switch, and digital copies along with the overpowered DLC is available on the Switch and Steam. This one is definitely a highlight for the Switch shoot 'em up catalog and is a great addition to your collection if you can find it for a good price. Hopefully this team will continue making titles, and I'll definitely keep an eye out for Mebius titles going forward. And if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching this video. If you find these videos helpful, that's awesome. I'm glad you can use this as a resource. Check back often, have more reviews and commentaries coming up in the near future. But until then, take it easy and stay safe out there. I'll see you on the next one.